Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Franchise Fluent podcast, where we keep you fluent in all things franchising, small business, and entrepreneurship. I'm your host, Austin Titus, and today we are joined by a special guest, Mr. Eric Lupton, who's the president and CEO of Lifesaver Pool Fence. How you doing, Eric?
I am fantastic. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for joining us on the podcast today. Why don't we start off by just giving the listeners a little bit of your background and some information on the company?
Sure. I started with the company when I was 14. My parents actually started the business. I think I'm kind of in a similar boat to you, where we're kind of carrying on the legacy of our ancestors, right? So, my parents started the company in 1987 in the garage of the house that I grew up in. So I was about 5 years old, and my brother was about 2. And yeah, they started in the garage. They made the fence in their garage. My mom would sew the mesh for the pool safety fence all night. And then my dad would get up in the morning and he had a paper route. And whatever money he made from the paper route, that went to his advertising budget. And then, in the morning, my mom would get me and my little brother up and ready for school and for the day. And she'd run the office while my dad would go out and try and sell pool fences. And if he was lucky enough to sell one, he'd come back to the garage, he'd make the fence, he'd go back out and install it. And this continued on until, they were able to get a little warehouse and employees and a larger warehouse, and they started setting up dealers. And so, I started in the summers of my teen years. And then when I was in my junior year of high school, I dropped out of high school and started working at Lifesaver full time. And when I turned 21, 2003, my mom had already retired, and my dad kind of stopped coming in. He just sort of slowly retired, and I took it over completely then. So I've been running it full time since 2003, and since then, we've grown over 12, 13 times in revenue. We now have 90 Lifesavers throughout the U.S. and we're in 15 countries on 5 continents. And the facility I'm sitting in right now is about 20,000 square feet of office and warehouse space. So it's a very, in a lot of ways, a very different company from the one my parents started in the garage, but also similar in a lot of ways. My brother is still is here. He still runs the company with me. Still a family business. Most of the people here in the office I've known since childhood. So much larger, but still the same in a lot of ways too.
Yeah, no, that's great, and thanks for sharing that. And there's something to be said about running a family business and taking it as the next generation to the next level. Not only continuing what your dad did, but also, like you said, 15, 18xing it, the business into different ways. And we started our conversation because I think it was my older brother that actually introduced us and told me how you were getting into franchising. And that's the focus of this podcast, Franchise Fluent. So let's talk a little bit about the franchise for Lifesaver Pool Fence and kind of why you did that, because you have a successful business. You do. You have a very successful business and you've been growing significantly, as you just explained. But why'd you guys decide to get into franchising and expand the business that way too?
So yeah, like I mentioned, we have dealers, right? We have a lot of dealers throughout the US and different countries, and the dealers are great. They do great work, and we couldn't be more proud of them. But the issue, as one of the dealers explained to me at our most recent conference, is that they're in a lot of ways, contractors or handymen, and not necessarily business people. And as the business has grown, we found that they lacked the tools and the training and the experience to actually grow the business from just kind of one man in a van into an actual business, right? And we realized that a lot of them just weren't doing the things that we knew from our extensive experience watching dealers come and go would be the best practices for themselves. It was really hard to get them to help themselves. And so we decided that the best way to go about that is to take everything we knew about selling and installing pool fence over 35 years of manufacturing it and watching and helping dealers and doing it ourselves, and compile that into one system and and sell it as a franchise, and allow dealers to convert over to the franchise system as well. And and right off the bat, there's just even if they do, we make them do all the things, but even if they did only a few key things that most of the dealers aren't doing, we see their businesses 10x immediately. It's amazing. So yeah, we just really want to get more market saturation in the areas that we already exist in, and then to really hit the ground running in new markets.
Awesome. Awesome. And so you have the successful dealer model right now, and going into franchising to expand and to have local representation that not only just supports your brand but also builds their local business. And so we see this duplicated all over the country, where a franchise or a business starts as a franchise. They are very, very successful in their area, and then they duplicate that model in a different state across the country, or wherever, and they can grow the business the right way, the way that the franchisor or the parent company intends for it to grow. And so that's the franchise model a little bit. Let's talk about your brand from a consumer standpoint. And so the brand is pretty self-explanatory, and people would be able to understand what it is. And by the way, I think I said this to you on our last conversation. Your domain is awesome. And so you have a great domain. People can tell exactly what you do, but let's dive a little bit deeper into that. What makes it so special? What are you guys doing different than anybody else that's competing against you?
Yeah, so Lifesaver Pool Fence manufactures removable mesh pool safety fencing. And for anyone who doesn't know, that's the fencing that goes around a pool to keep kids from drowning. That's different from a perimeter fence that's going to keep people from getting in your yard. This fence isolates the pool from your backyard. So you're not keeping other people out of your yard, you're keeping your kids out of the pool. And that differs from a traditional wrought iron fence or a chain link fence, in that it's designed specifically for child safety. So it has no handholds or footholds. They feature a self-closing, self-latching gate. So that's pool fence. And there's a number of other pool fence brands out there. There's 5 or 6 major manufacturers also producing mesh pool safety fencing. But we did what was called a stupid thing back in the recession, back in 2008 when the crash happened. Is I decided that everyone else was going cheaper. It was very clear that everyone was just cutting their prices and trying to make the product kind of a commodity, or just appeal to these people who are in a rough state financially, and still install their fences because make it affordable for them. But I saw this race to the bottom happening, and I was afraid that if I participated, I might win. And the last thing I want to do is win a race to the bottom. So we decided to go the other direction, and we made the fence more expensive. We made it much more high end, and at the time, my contemporaries told me that it was silly, that no one could tell the difference. That a pool fence is a pool fence. It's plaque, it's mesh. From the kitchen window, you can't tell anyways. What's the point? But apparently, people actually do care about quality, and they care about components, and they care about the the social part of the brand they're buying from. So every time we install a fence, we set aside fencing to be donated to the family of a fatal or non-fatal drowning victim. We donate to every single water safety nonprofit event that we're aware of. So if someone comes to me and says that they're having a 5K to raise money for water safety awareness, we're definitely going to give money to that. We do every single one of them. And so between the Save a Life program, we donate fences and our charitable stuff, and then having a higher end product, I think it became real clear to the people in the water safety community, and then the consumers who find us, that we're a little bit different from the other pool fence companies. A little more high end, a little more professional, a little more premium, and that's resonated with people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always appreciate brands that are a premium brand. Not that there's, not business marketplace for, the lower end brands, but premium brands tend to build better relationships, build a deeper customer base over time. I'll say actually, it's a complete coincidence. I actually just put my pool fence up yesterday. I have a 10-month-old daughter, and so she's starting to crawl around and stuff, and it's getting a little crazy over at the house. But I put the pool fence up, and I will say I've been in the house that I'm in for about a year, and when I bought the house, it came with a very high quality pool fence that it's perfect, similar to the product that you guys are providing, and I loved that. And it was a huge benefit when I did buy the house that there was already a pool gate installed. And when my wife and I moved in, we knew that we were going to have a baby soon. And so, we wanted to put a pool fence in anyway. And so that being there was actually a selling point on my house for me.
Sure.
So,
That makes perfect sense. Yeah. And congratulations. That's great. I'm glad you made the choice to put it up. Not everybody does, but, a lot of people, there's been some talk that we run into where people feel like they're bad parents for needing a pool fence. They call us to say, I want to get a pool fence. I always watch my kid, but I still want to do it. And I think it's the other way around. I think better parents are the ones that put up pool fences. You have the self-awareness to realize you can't watch your child 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's impossible. So, sometimes you have to sleep. You have to use the restroom occasionally. Once in a while, you might shower once a week. So yeah, I think, kudos to you for putting up the pool fence.
thanks. Yeah, and it literally takes 5 seconds for you not looking for tragedy to happen. And so I hear stories all the time, and there's I'm here in South Florida, and so everybody's got pools, and so we do hear a lot of tragic stories, unfortunately. And so it is a product that has a deeper meaning, not just that it's a high quality product that you guys are offering. It is a necessity. It's a lifesaver. So and so that's a big point there. So we talked a little bit about the franchise, talked a little bit about from a consumer perspective. What's your vision for the company, Eric, over the next 5 years, 10 years plus for the business?
Well, we're just getting started with the franchising. In fact, as someone in the space, you'll be excited to know this. So, I mean, we literally just got our, FTDs, our agreements finished, a few months ago, right? We haven't done any advertising for franchisees yet, but we just awarded our first two startup franchises. So, in addition to the dealers who are converting over, we just got two folks who signed up. We just finished their training. They were here the last 2 weeks. They left on Friday. One's in Little Rock, Arkansas. The other one's in Chattanooga, Tennessee. So they had a great 2 week long training session, and now they're back home. The one, the guy in Arkansas, drove his fully wrapped van, which is a requirement for the franchise, right? They have this awesome Dodge ProMaster, this Dodge Ram ProMaster, that's fully wrapped, and he got his first job taking it to go get gas. Literally drives back from Florida, goes to the gas station, and had a guy flag him down and ask about getting a pool fence. And now he's scheduling that work. So yeah, we're just getting started with it, and right off the bat, watching them go through the training process like we've never done before. We've always trained dealers on how to install the fence, but we've just kind of given guidance and suggestions on how to run the business, right? Because that's the dealer manufacturer relationship, and putting them through the whole process, helping them get set up with the vehicle, their business cards, their online marketing, their website, their social media. I mean, the difference these folks are going to have in their experience of getting their pool fence business going versus every other dealer that's come before them is going to be astounding. And I am really excited to see more and more people kind of go through that experience, and just to see their lives change. And I think pool fence might be the best kept small business secret in the service business category. Seriously, we have people who are doing 3 jobs a week, making over 6 figures a year, right? And the average pool fence takes about 3 or 4 hours to put in. So it's this remarkable business opportunity where you get to do well and do good at the same time. And yeah, and I'm excited to see it prosper in the way we probably should have done it from the beginning. If my parents had had the capital and the logistics, the infrastructure to franchise from the start, they probably would have. So here we are 35 years later, probably finally doing it the right way, and it's really exciting.
That is exciting, and congratulations on the additions of the franchise sector of your business. That's awesome. And you mentioned training. You said, I think, 2 weeks. What does training look like for you guys?
So training is in two stages. The first week is we'll call it classroom training. So we're going over marketing, sales, human resources, pool safety. We're big on making sure that each of our lifesavers are pool safety experts and pool safety advocates. So we spend a lot of time on drowning prevention, the layers of protection, and that kind of thing. We bring in our top lifesaver from the country, and he goes over how he does quotes and sales and estimates. We bring in our payroll experts, and they talk about the difference between a 1099 and W-2, and they kind of give them the basics of payroll. And we have the accounting folks come over and give a little crash course in basic bookkeeping and accounting, and what they can expect from the vendors that will be providing that. We have a CRM we use that they get access to, so we do some training on the CRM. So that's the first week, and then the second week is pool fence installation training. So that starts off with kind of a pool fence 101 day on Monday, where they get shown the basics. They get to feel the core drill a couple holes, make some cuts, get kind of a feel for what a pool fence is. And then for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, they're out in the field with our top lifesaver in the country. And that happens to be the lifesaver in our backyard here in Palm Beach County. And, they get to go out with him, and they're doing 4 or 5 jobs a day. So they get to not only, learn how to put the fence in and how that goes, but just the opportunity to spend time with a location doing that much work, I think is really inspirational. They get to see what might be possible. And so they spend, 3 full days with him doing installations and sales. They get to go on some in-home sales estimates, which is great. And then on Friday, there's a final exam. And their final exam is they have to put a pool fence in my backyard around my pool. My poor pool deck has so many patch holes in it. But they install a pool fence in my backyard. So that way they get a chance to do it for real, all by themselves, without any help. And then we judge their work and make sure that they're good to go. And then they go back home and hit the ground running.
Wow. That's a extensive training program, but it's condensed, and that's great. That's great. That's the perfect type of training program that I see across different franchises there. And did you say that they come to your location there for training? Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So that's great. They get to meet the team and get to know the whole organization, and that's really important from a franchisee level, because they're basically your partners in the business, and so they're a majority owner partner of your business in another area, and so you want to make sure that they are good, culturally with your business. They get along with the employees there, and everybody has the same goal, to be successful, because obviously the more money they make, the more money you guys make as the franchisor, and so you want them to do as good as possible. So let's talk about what you guys want to find in a franchise partner of yours. You touched on that a little bit when we first started talking about franchising, but who's your ideal franchisee? If you could, put that person in a box, a certain persona, and say, I want more of these people, who would that be?
It's funny because we've talked about this a lot, and we've got this dealer network already that we can kind of look at, and which is one reason why I think our franchise program is going to be so successful, is we're not starting this right off the gate, right? We've got this network of dealers that we've been doing this for so long. We've got to learn from our own mistakes and their mistakes and what worked. So, if we look across our dealer network, it's kind of a motley crew of different personalities and, different ways of running people's businesses. And a lot of them have worked in a lot of different ways. But I think, the ideal franchisee is going to do 4 things that matter. They're going to be on board with the advertising, which we say online, Google Ads, Facebook, Instagram, saturate that first and then worry about anything else. So they're going to do the advertising. They're going to be responsive. They're going to answer the phone, get back to people by text, email, Facebook, Instagram, DMs, whatever way people reach out to. They're going to be obsessed with getting back to people quickly, answering the phone, whatever it is. After that, quality work, right? They're going to be just as obsessed as they are with answering the phone about doing the best job possible, and that, includes, cleaning up after themselves, making the backyard look better than it did when they showed up. We have a great dealer in California who tells a story that he, if he sees a trash can out by the road, he always brings it back in if trash day is over, or vice versa. If he happens to know it's trash day in the area, he'll bring the trash out for them. So people who are really committed to doing high quality work, and then from that, using that high quality work to get good reviews and good referrals, and then using those reviews and referrals as a springboard to more effective online advertising. You got this kind of cycle. So yeah, people who can do those four things are kind of ideal franchisees.
Yeah, and that's great, and that's a huge thing, especially reviews in the service industry are absolutely huge. It could make or break a company, and so
Right.
I've seen a lot of franchisors extremely focused on local Google reviews for their local franchisee right off the gate, because that could absolutely crash the business. If you get bad reviews early, people don't call you, as you know. You've been in the business long enough. So, but we've seen it across the board, not just in service, in restaurant and B2B businesses all over the place. And so those Google reviews are extremely important. That's fantastic. Do you have anything that you want to kind of share with the audience about the franchise opportunity that we haven't covered yet?
I mean, yeah, like I said, we are just getting rolling, and even though we've got a lot of dealers throughout the country, and we're already adding on franchisees, even though we haven't spent any money on advertising yet, people who just know the brand, and we're excited to join it as soon as we announced it, just on our personal Facebooks. But yeah, we're just getting rolling, which means that anybody who joins in now kind of gets to get in at the ground floor, which I think is exciting. And we do have areas available. I'm sure, like every franchisee you talk to, and like I mentioned earlier, I do think our business is kind of this hidden treasure where you can almost do it part time and make six figures, which is wild. We do want our folks to do it full time to do even better, but it's been remarkable how well these kind of man in a vans have done, and because it does do so well, they've been able to not hire employees and not grow and not do all the things that the franchise would allow them to do, because it's been successful enough just doing it solo. But yeah, we're really excited to see what happens when it's run like a real business, hiring employees, doing the marketing, having accounting done, the whole nine, because we've seen it in a couple locations, and the results are staggering. So yeah, we think it's like I said, the best kept secret in the home service industry, and we're excited for people to find out about it.
That's great. That's great. And obviously you guys are an emerging brand in the franchise category. I think it's the best of both worlds there. To anyone listening, take a look at this franchise opportunity. It is a newer franchise opportunity, but from a very well established organization that has a lot of experience in distributors using their product and selling their product. And so they have it basically figured out. And so now it's just structuring it as a franchise. And so that's a great opportunity. So where can people find you, Eric, or the company? Where should they go if they want to learn more about the franchise opportunity or connect with you?
Yeah, I mean, our primary website is poolfence.com. That's the domain name you liked.
Yeah.
That's the consumer side, where you can learn more about mesh pool safety fencing if you want a pool fence or just want to reach out to us. And then the franchise website is lifesaverfranchising.com. So that's the website if you want to learn more about the franchise opportunity. There's a form there you can fill out, or just call us. But yeah, reach out to us either for a pool fence, or if you're looking for more info about a franchise. Or I also have a blog I write. It's called Crippled CEO. I have cerebral palsy. I use a wheelchair, so it's kind of a joke about that. But I offer business advice and marketing and life tips and whatnot. So yeah, a lot of places. Poolfence.com, lifesaverfranchising.com, and Crippled CEO for humorous business advice.
Well, great. Thank you for sharing, Eric. And again, to the audience, this is not an offer to buy a franchise. An offer to buy a franchise can only be made by a franchise disclosure document. And so if you are interested in this franchise, reach out to Eric, go onto their website. As he mentioned, I'll also add them in the show notes. But Eric, I really appreciate your time today. It's been great chatting with you. Hopefully, people can see the potential in your business and check it out through this podcast. And so, everybody listening, please remember to follow us on social media. We are on Facebook, Instagram. We have a YouTube channel, Franchise Fluent. Please go on and subscribe. And we're also on most podcast platforms where most people listen. And so, thanks again, Eric, for joining us. Thanks everybody for listening.